So you may have already done my standing alignment video that I gave out as a little bit of a freebie before the course started. Or you might have been working with me for a period of time and gone through the alignment stuff with me many times. However, it is always worth doing again, because you can't, every time you think about your alignment, you pick up something new. So it's always worth going through. I'm going to look at standing alignment with you first, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into the stuff that I went through in the freebie. So don't just skip this part, make sure that you do pay attention and have a look and see how it can affect you. We want to have feet hip width apart, and remember we're looking for the bony projection, so the hip bones on the front of the pelvis, and you're lining your feet up with those, so it's much more narrow than perhaps hip width apart means to you normally. So have a little look and get your feet in that nice pelvic width position. Outside edges of your feet want to be straight, so it's useful sometimes to get a straight edge to align yourself up with, so the edge of a book, or if you're standing on a mat, maybe go to the edge of the mat and line your foot up and see how that looks. Now often when we get our feet straight, it kind of makes us a little bit pigeon-toed, and your feet might look like they're pointing in towards each other, and that's fine, so I don't want you to worry about that for now, because we're fixing the body and we're aligning the body from the feet all of the way up, and it takes time, okay? We're not just going to put you in this position and then your body's going to adjust itself and be amazing. Your body has been where it has been, and it has been where you have used it for however long, so we're not going to be able to undo that in an instant. It takes time for your muscles to adapt to allow your body to find optimal alignment. So don't worry if your feet are turned in a little bit. And this is just an alignment assessment, an alignment check. I don't expect you to walk around like this all of the time. So we've got outside of the edges of our feet straight, and we're hip width apart. So the next little piece is to back your weight up. If you have your weight forwards all of the time, then your toes are gripping, your quads on the front of your thigh are having to work really hard to stop you from falling over. Your kneecaps are being pulled into the knee joint all of the time, which means that when you're walking, it's creating friction and heat, which is what wears out the cartilage in knees. This is why so many people are having knee replacements, because of wear and tear, because their body isn't in optimal alignment. Tell you a little story about my father-in-law, because he won't see this, but my father-in-law's had to have a knee replacement, and he is a really keen walker. He was in rambling clubs and things like that, and his alignment is terrible. and his weight is forwards all of the time. And I was chatting to him one time, and he was saying about, you know, his knees and stuff, and I said, well, you know, your alignment is off. You need to really back your weight up. And he was just like, oh, you know, oh, I've always been like this. I know what I'm doing. And I just thought, well, okay, you know, you're on your way to having your second knee replacement. And I look at my husband, and he's going exactly the same way. In fact, he's already had knee surgery, and bless him, he does really try. But when I see my husband and my father-in-law walking, they walk exactly the same. But you can fix it, you know? And that kind of brings me, I kind of do this, I go off on a tangent. The way that you walk is often a learned behaviour. So children learn how to walk by imitating their parents. And this has been proven, because even adopted children will often walk like their mum or their dad. And over time you find that married couples often walk exactly the same, and you don't know you're doing it. It's a subconscious thing. You're not consciously trying to walk like somebody, but it's information into your brain. And you start to mimic, and you start to walk like somebody. So, you know, be careful who you hang around. If they've got some really, you know, Ministry of Silly Walks things going on, you want to be careful. Okay, I'm back. So your weight wants to be back over your heels. Don't want to have your weight over your toes all of the time. The bones at the front of the foot are much finer, and they kind of feather out a little bit, and they're not designed to carry all of the weight of your body. you need to back your hips up because the bones at the heel, at the base of your ankle, are much thicker, chunkier, weight-bearing bones, and we need to use those to carry our weight. So you want to have a look, and it's useful to have a full-length mirror so that you can see, is your weight forwards over your toes, and I am exaggerating, can you back it up over your hips, over your heels, sorry, so hips over heels, yeah? And it can be useful to get a little yoga strap so that you can check your alignment and you can see where it is that you're carrying your weight. So if I put this little strap on the front of my hip, just hold the other bit out of the way. Okay. So if I wear my weight forwards, then my plumb line is going to show that my weight, my kind of centre of gravity, if you like, is forwards. And that's why these guys are having to work so hard to hold me up. If I back my weight up and I bring my hips over my heels, you can see now it's kind of directly in front of my ankle, so that my weight is much more evenly stacked, yeah? So check where your weight is being carried. It's really useful. Again, you don't want to go from really far forward to really far back, and if it makes you feel like you're going to fall over, do a little bit at a time. So now that we've got our weight back, it should be easier to relax your quad muscles. Okay, so these guys tend to be really tight all of the time. And we have a little movement called a kneecap release. And all that means is that you relax your thighs, which is easier said than done. So you need to have your weight backed up. And if you can't release your thighs, maybe try tensing them. So can you tense and then release? Tense and then release. And you should find that your kneecaps lift and drop. So as you tense the thighs, the kneecaps lift, and as you release, the kneecaps drop. And you're seeing if you can get your kneecaps to move. And maybe one will move, maybe one won't move, and just seeing how it feels. Can you get them moving? I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see these. I'll check on the video after, and if not, I'll add a little bit in. If you can't get them to move, get your bottom against a wall, so that now I'm putting the weight of my body against the wall, so these guys can kind of switch off and relax. And have a look at them, because often that visual feedback helps. Can you tense and release your thighs here? Can you get your knees to move here? If you can do it here but not do it in standing, then we know that we need to kind of back the weight up a little bit and just keep working on it. If you can't do it here, don't worry about it. It took me about 4 years to be able to do this. So if you can do it straight away, I'm really impressed. You can do this sitting down in a chair. I used to practice it in the bath. Wherever you are, just seeing if you can tense and release your thighs. And it's worth persevering with this, because as I said about my father-in-law, if you're unable to relax your quad muscles, and they are tight all of the time, because the quad muscle passes over the kneecap, it's pulling that kneecap back into that joint the whole time. So we want to be able to relax these guys. So kneecap release. The next part is to make sure our pelvis is in a neutral position, and that means that our hip bones and our pubic bone are on the same plane. So if you pop the heel of your hand on your hip bone and then your fingers on your pubic bone, you will be able to notice whether your hip bones are forward or your pubic bone is forward, and you want to get them level. Yeah, and we use that kind of level when we're lying down as well. So hip bones and pubic bone on the same plane. And it might feel really alien to you, or it might feel fine. Just notice. You're all of the time assessing your body and assessing your alignment. So we've got our pelvis in a neutral position. The next part is the rib cage. Your rib cage wants to be relaxed and down. People I tended to wear my rib cage forwards and lifted all of the time. So my ribs were kind of lifted and forwards all of the time, which causes a shortening in this lower back. If you have lower backache a lot, it's worth checking your ribs. So the rib cage wants to be relaxed and down, and that means that you can't find your bottom rib. If your bottom rib is sticking out, then you're shearing and lifting your rib cage. Try and allow it to relax down. You don't want to muscle it down, you don't want to be using your abdominals to pull it down. You want to just allow it to relax down. And you will find that that will start to lengthen out your lower back. We'll do a lot of rib work, so don't worry too much about it now, but just notice where the ribs are. Then we want to have the chest and the shoulders rolled open, relaxed and down, and arms down by your sides, palms facing in towards the sides of your trousers. You don't want to have the arms kind of forwards, that's encouraging that rounded shoulder and upper back position. So collarbones open, shoulders relaxed and down, palms facing in towards your trousers. Okay, head and neck next. You want to have your ears over your shoulders. Because of the amount of time that we spend on devices these days, a lot of people are starting to get this rounded and kind of rounded upper back and head lifted, so really short upper neck. Not sure how well you can see that there, but it's not a great position to be in, okay? And the more you're in that position, the worse it's going to get, the worse it's going to get, the worse it's going to get. It's just a progressive collapsing of the spine, so we want to address that right now. So you need to back, like we did with the hips, back your head up. Call it ramping the head. You want to slide your chin back whilst creating length through the back of the neck. So it's not a case of lifting the chin, because that shortens the back of the neck. Think about length in the back of the neck, no creases in the back of the neck. Ears over shoulders. And you might feel like quite a bit of work in the upper back and shoulders. Great, because we want to be working those muscles, we want to be using those muscles to hold us in position. Eyes on the horizon. So eyes are looking straight ahead, and you're not having to lift your chin, drop your chin, straight ahead. And growing tall through the crown of your head. And then just take a few moments to take some deep breaths in this position and see how it feels. Check in. Has your weight gone forwards? Back your weight up. Are you gripping through your thighs? Can you let your kneecaps relax? Where are those hands? Are they coming forwards? Can you bring them down by your sides? How do your ribs feel? How does your head feel? How does your neck feel? Notice, just tune into this. And like I said, I don't expect you to go from where you are now to being in this position all of the time, but this is kind of where you're working to, because this is where your body functions really well. This is where all of your body parts need to be in standing still in order to work. And of course, as soon as you start to move your body, everything changes. But you need that kind of beginning point so that you know where things should be to start from. Okay. So that's your standing alignment. And like I said, if your feet are really turned out, or turned in for that matter, you don't have to go to straight away. You're going to work your way there. And that is the first thing I would start with, is trying to get your feet in the position. Kind of work from the foundation up. Yeah. It's no good kind of fixing, you know, your shoulders if your feet aren't right. I would start with the feet. We're gonna be addressing everything anyway, but that's the first thing. So notice when you're out and about and you're standing, where are your feet? Quite often we will kind of stand and allow our body to hang off one hip. Check for that. And if you notice that you're doing that, bring yourself back. Get that feet at hip width, weight back. Get your body in that really good alignment. Lean in is another one, you know, kind of leaning against the wall, leaning against the bar, you know, kind of just slumping. It's outsourcing the work of your body to something else, so that your muscles aren't having to support your body because something else is going to do that for you. And that's where our weakness starts to come from. As soon as you start outsourcing the work of the body to something else, your body then doesn't need to do the work. So it starts to weaken, it starts to not be able to do it anymore because you've always got something to lean on. We will talk a lot more about this as we kind of go through, and I do go off on tangents quite a lot, but just for your standing alignment, that's kind of everything that you need to know right at this moment. There's a lot more to come.